Hey guys, this is Dardamos with Dardamos Dominions. I'm in with an old co-host, Karagraph or Karatograph. How are you doing, dude?
Pretty good, pretty good.
And once again, we have Shippotle. How are you doing, Shippotle?
I'm doing very well.
Okay, so we're moving into turn 32. It's really interesting. I'm actually starting to ping a couple people for the next game to get some more, like some guys that I know and a little bit more experience with it. And so I'm really getting excited about the next game. And if you're interested in playing in that one and you're listening in, go ahead and give me a PM. I can't make any promises whether there'll be spots left, but it'll be, at least you can get your name into the pool. So we got our first messages from Satis. You have to know, I wish he was here, but Grippa had this air mage, and instead of getting more air mages with his air mage, he just had this mercenary that went around and gave all of his armies air magic, and so he found him again, so that's good. Vanheim is mentioning that he's not at war with Ulm. We have Pan raiding. We have Ulm getting whacked offside the head by Vanheim. We have our first thug of the game. Just a ping. Scalaria is still going underwater. Ulm is raiding. Van is counter raiding. Ulm is raiding, and then we have another fight between Vanheim and Airmore. So we're gonna go into the Satis message first. Kira, why exactly what do you need air magic for in an army?
So I can't actually see your screen as a note, but air magic is useful for quite a few things. It's mostly useful as I guess I would say, controlling path. It does lightning damage, which is really hard to resist, meaning that it forces an answer out of certain types of things like thugs, but also really importantly, it hard counters projectiles with arrow fend and with mist and with storm. It also hard counters flying. It's just in general a very strong utility path, both for something to have a lot of mages with, or just one mage casting battlefield spells.
Now, you said arrow fend. Is this something that Satis might need?
Yeah, so in general, Satis doesn't have very good access to shields, and so projectiles are pretty good at killing their units. So Aerofend gives what's Air Shield, which is a 80% chance to ignore any projectile that would otherwise hit them. It's an enchantment.
Okay. So you have Aerofend, which helps you out with against. Let's say that you don't have air magic in your kit. How do you get air magic?
So air magic is actually one of the paths that is very, very hard to break into. The most consistent way is to get to Conjuration 8 and have nature mages and cast Fairy Court, which gives you
It's not on here, dude. We're missing some spells, and that being one of them.
Okay, I was looking at it being like, wait, where is that? Fairy Court, which gives you a Nature 3, Air 3 flying mage. Outside of that, hope that you have some kind of national spell, Tartarians, something like that. There's quite a number of things that can do it, but none of them are very easy.
Like Conjuration
hope
8
that
is
you
not
roll
easy
a
to
random
get.
indie site.
That's wild. Chipotle, do you usually play any air mages or air nations at all?
So the nation that I've played the most is Fascia. So heavy air.
What do you do with that heavy air?
You rush evocation. Well, not true. The first thing I do is get construction 2. And I say construction 2 is probably the most important because construction 2 contains owl quills. And especially as Fascia, but as any air nation, you want to start pumping those out in order to get your research kind of boosted over other nations, because that can give you a really key advantage. And then besides that, I either rush evocation or conjuration for big air elementals, or storm plus friendly skies.
And so you said, so evocation gives you Storm and Wrathful Skies?
Yes.
Okay. That's,
And then also Thunderstrike spam.
and then Thunderstrike Scam is, okay, so that's this one right here. Okay, 26 damage in an AoE one. Oh, wow. Okay.
And AoE 6 with armor negating for 2. So it can stun troops.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even see that bottom part.
Yeah, so it can stun their chaff, which, the less chaff you lose, the more you have for the next battle.
So, what exactly does this, how do you counter this? Because this seems huge, range 100, 26 damage, it seems, what counters this?
You should ask Sack that later, as we're about to have a big fight. I really don't know early on. I really don't know early on what you're gonna want to do against. Besides, have more chaff and spells that can kill my mages quickly. So things like, if you're an astral nation, so Bandarlog can recruit yogis and have them do magic duels. And they're like, Fascia can do big air without communions, but also can do big air with communions. And so taking out the communion slaves can take out your Wrathful Storms caster or your Storm caster. If they have foul vapors, or if you cast foul vapors and Fascia doesn't have poison resistance on its big mages, then even as Wrathful Skies goes up, it might just come down a couple of rounds later. So those are two ways I can think of. Also, what's it called? Mind Burn and Soul Slay. Fascia has size 3 mages with larger HP pools, and it's not unlikely that Soul Slay or Mind Burn would target those over the chaff. And again, if you get those mages dead, then Wrathful Skies comes down, Storm comes down.
So, Paragraph, do you have any, or Chronograph, do you have any other thing that you can think of that could counter this?
Yeah, so there's a few things that are really important about countering air magic. The first of which is fairly common in the current meta, which is just sacred troops. It is relatively straightforward if someone is doing a big bless, where they're picking up like a big rainbow bless, where they're picking up 3 in every path. That the air points go into 15 points of lightning resist, which makes the air evocations much, much less effective, more than cutting in half lightning strike and completely negating things like the stun damage. In severe cases, you can even end up with something like an early Neefle that ends up with something like 25 shock resist, where they're picking up both the shock resist in air and the shock resist in earth magic.
The fire shock.
As their fire and shock resist. Yeah, there.
So you can get yourself up to
so
25
sacreds
that
in
way.
general can end up more or less ignoring air magic evocations entirely, but that's a large investment. It's very much a metagame call. Past that, the thing to note about air magic is that it's actually not great at killing large numbers of units. Thunderstrike is good. It will stun large numbers of units. The 2 armor negating damage is really important there, because the way that the equation for stun works is it's the percent chance to stun is equal to the percent of your health that it dealt. So if it's hitting humans, that AoE 2 damage is a 20% chance. Plus or minus however much the RNG affects the damage roll, chance to stun. But the 50 fatigue cost to kill a single square of units, and maybe stun a bunch of other ones, can quickly end up just fatiguing the mages out if you bring enough stuff.
Excellent. We're going to look at the strategic map real quick and see what's going on in the strategic level. Right now, Aramore has stopped moving forward. Vanheim has taken back their fort, and Ulm has come in with a large group of like a large thrust inward. But it looks like they're going to be countered by Van right here. Let's look at this siege battle real quick. So last turn we saw that Van won a major fight against Aramore, and this doesn't look like a lot of troops. But interestingly enough, when we look at the losses, these are, he lost 9 mages and 11 Eingears and 11 sacreds to just this. Why? What do you think happened in this one, Kara? What caused all this damage?
Well, so if you look at the kills, you can actually see that they killed substantially fewer units than died on the forces of Vanheim. So my assumption here is that they friendly fired their own units with evocations and with crossbows.
Do you know when it comes to what's it called? Blood Vengeance. Does that count as the unit killing, or did they kill themselves?
I don't know. I believe it counts as the unit killing. But it looks like it's the crossbows shooting their friends in the back.
Yeah, if you slow down a bit there, a couple of rounds ago, a huge wave of crossbows took out all of the glamour for the sacred horses.
Yeah, there you go, right there. They're actually hitting Mount King. Okay, so the sensor killed this one, and they're. Oh, but look at this. Yeah, you're right. Crossbowmen hit Van for 2 points, which drops the glamour. So their crossbowmen dropped the glamour, and then they either got killed by the crossbows or they got killed by the. Man, that's rough. So you think that if he wouldn't have had these crossbows with him, and that's a lot of crossbows too, that this fight would have gone a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean, very much so. The crossbows definitely did more harm than good, I would say, in this fight. If you're going to utilize crossbows with this kind of elite troops like this, like right here, actually, you can, if you just watch that quick section again, you can see the crossbows, the accuracy just isn't that good, so they're just hitting their own troops as often or more than they're hitting the enemies here.
I'll try to see if I can, closer. Oh, sorry. My mouse control is terrible. Okay.
Alright, right there.
So I can see
that
4.
one that just got popped glamour in the middle there, that was a crossbow bolt.
So we got like 2 of these are both, their glamour is gone. That's nuts. So we've learned our lesson that we shouldn't shoot our own troops. I learned something today.
Yeah, if friendly fire isn't.
Yeah. But what I want to see is this, because, okay, look at this. Crossbowman hits Vanhurst. Crossbowman hits Vanhurst. Oh my. That's nuts. I didn't even see this the first time. That was a good catch, dude. What killed this one? Okay, this was the Blood Vengeance. So this guy actually died to Blood Vengeance. But all
yeah, I mean,
those
so if we looked at the deaths were, like, the lictors and not the lictors. The censors did actually kill a decent number of the stuff, but there were more deaths on Van's side than there were kills on Aramore's, which implies friendly fire.
That's hilarious. Okay, so because of this, I think that this is also kind of a key point right here, because Vanheim's fighting 2 different opponents, and he's going in against a small force in a fort battle. And he's trying to take back a fort while fighting off two different teams at the same time. How scared are you, Shippotle? How scared are you of attacking forts?
So attacking elves is always different, but it's hard for me to make myself go on a fort unless I have enough to 1 turn pop the fort pretty much 100%. I do not like taking that risk and like giving them a turn or two to gather reinforcements for a big battle on top of the fort just feels really bad. So I pretty much never move on top of a fort unless I've got 500 or more siege strength ready to go.
Hey Mandar, how are you doing, dude?
Doing well. Yep.
So I've got a question, dude, because I hate fort battles. I hate defending them. I hate attacking on them. What is it that makes a fort battle so different? I don't I understand like there's a choke point, but like how does that affect the entire battle? Why is that such a big deal? And why is it so much easier for a fort defender to defend against a larger troop or against a larger enemy?
Honestly, I don't think that fort battles are all that different from field battles for practical purposes. I mean, you can only squeeze so many guys through there, which means a smaller force can have an easier time. But if you've got some thugs or some flying or some ethereal, you can really get around it, and it isn't that big a deal.
Okay, so you gave me about like 2 or 3 different ideas or a couple things there. You said flying, right?
Yep, just goes right over the walls. Once you've cracked the fort, for some reason you cannot fly into an uncracked fort.
So what? When you say flying, how do you get flying? How do you just get flying troops like Calum, or how do you accomplish that?
Yeah, flying troops is a great way to do it. You can also cast mass flight, or you can give thugs boots of flying or something like that.
Okay, so the next thing you said was ethereal, right?
Yes. That lets you walk through walls.
Okay,
among
so
other things.
So ethereal units can go through walls. How do you get ethereal onto your troops?
Either they can already have it, like they're ghosts or something. You can give it to them with that one astral robe of making you ethereal, or you can cast body ethereal with any old astral 1 mage.
Okay, so that was like one of the problems I always have is like I get into this big old like I do very well. I get to a fort and then I try to assault and just I don't know what it is, but I just get hammered. Like it's like 3 mages and 10 troops and versus my 100 guys and my 100 guys lose. I think that there's actually I feel bad, but I did the same thing to Kirby where I had maybe like 3 mages and he had like a super combatant that could fly, and he still failed. Kara, are you okay against? I mean, I know that when we were fighting Therados, we were having some bad times with forts. What causes that?
So a big part of that's not talked about a lot is if you look where it says province defense, there it's talking, no, on the battle screen.
Oh, okay. Let me get this real quick. Okay, yeah, right there.
It's got the long dead archers there. So province defense in forts is both better than it is outside of forts and is always made out of units with projectiles. And these units, the only way to get up to them is to climb, unless you have things that are flying or ethereal, is to walk up these narrow staircases where you are very close to, 30 dudes raining arrows down on your head. And in addition, if I remember correctly, units on ramparts never run out of ammunition.
Correct.
This is particularly nasty. This is particularly nasty for nations like Agartha, where their province defense standing on Utgard does a similar thing, where their archer units are actually throwing 30 damage boulders on top of the opponent's heads, and unlike normal boulder units that only have a couple ammunition, they just don't run out. So if you get stuck in the choke, you can end up with 50, 60 plus boulders raining down on your unit's heads and just murdering them all, regardless of how tough they are. If you've got a 35 damage boulder falling on its head, it's not going to like it.
Another thing I want to look at right here is that, these guys do great going in back, and I think his initial goal was this small group of, sacreds would take out the mages, and then the rest of the guys would come up and deal with these archers here. Now, interestingly enough, the archers are gone because of the what is it, the holy spells.
Banishment.
But how many guys, or you can only hit one square of these at a time, right? So
Yep.
you see this skeleton right here. If, let's say, there are all skeletons down the way, you can only kill one square at a time. You can't actually kill all the skeletons at once, unless you have, like, Mandar, you were talking ethereal. Can ethereal units hit from down here up to here?
Not a clue. Probably.
So they can't, but what they can do is if there's space, that an empty square from things like ranged attacks, they can walk up to an empty space without going around the back.
But even then, like, that would make it so that this was troops being here would be an effective wall because they can't walk through the troops. So it might even, like, these guys even block a little bit against ethereal, which is really interesting as well. One thing I see when I'm scripting is that you want to do some attack closest, but if you send all your guys, like, I mean, we can see this right here. This one dude right here, all of these troops are trying to kill that one dude rather than this pile back here. When you're doing a fort battle, Shippotle, how much do you put on attack rear and how much do you put on attack closest?
So anything I have, if I have cheap, not very good air summons or any summons with flying, they all go immediately on attack rear. If I have other flyers, they're mostly on hold and attack rear because I'll give them a buff. But you want to attack rear because that's mostly where their mages are. And if you can get even just like, the cheap harpies that Pangea gets can still interrupt big mages from casting in big important battle spells. For regular troops, I think I mostly just go on attack closest, except for with cavalry.
What is the... Oh, sorry, go ahead. Keep finishing.
I was just going to say that the choke point is such that unless your cavalry can charge through and get around, you're going to be stuck there anyway. But I haven't found that scripting matters, but I'm sure that others have different experience.
Mandar, what is when you just say, I know there's a lot of players that just don't understand scripting yet, and so they just kind of leave it as default. What is the default scripting for a siege attack?
You mean like for a block of units?
Yeah.
Probably fire closest or something. I've never really tested it.
GC, how are you doing, dude?
Hey, man, doing all right. About yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Do you know what the default scripting is? If you just leave like a plain default scripting for these horses right here, let's say they don't have magic, but like these Einheirs, would they attack closest or would they attack rear?
They would attack closest. In a siege, they would try to go up on the walls and attack the archers.
So if you have a new player that just is kind of lazy with their scripting, their entire force will sit here trying to kill the archers while the rest of the army is having fun at their expense, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And really, what you ought to do in a siege, not all the time, but most of the time, is tell them to attack rear.
Okay.
Is there a password? What's the password I need to put in to look at the game here?
Oh, we did. Yeah, just look at the stream. You can download it from the Dance Monkey Dance Viewer channel.
Hold on.
If you want to do that later. Hey Zan, how are you doing, dude?
Hey guys, how's everything?
Dude, you're missing out. Remember how last time Vanheim had that Pyrrhic victory? Well,
Yeah,
they just went into the fort and they lost just about as much to the fort combat in 14 guys than they did to the entire army.
Oh, dude, 9 Vanherses.
Yeah, and 11 sacreds.
Yeah, that's kind of
And 11 Einhair too, which are not cheap. Those things are 25 gold a pop.
Oh my goodness. This was a huge loss, and he's getting attacked by 3 different sides, or at least 2 different sides. I I don't see this going well. Okay, so let's go in. There's one other battle I really wanted to look at. Okay, so GC, you can hook me up on this. Do you Alm's research? What do they normally research first? What do you have to look out for when you're looking at an Almish force?
Okay, so for Middle Age Ulm, there's obviously they're going to want to get the basic like Earth buffs. So Enchantment 3, Construction 3, Conjuration 3. After that, if I was playing Middle Age Ulm, once I gotten those, I would probably just book it down Evocation and get Iron Blizzard.
Okay, let's go over each of those real quick. You said which one? Can you say it again, dude?
So Conjuration 3, that gives you Summon Earth Power.
Okay.
Which you need so that you can buff your Earth Mages to Earth 3. Enchantment 3, that gives you Strength of Giants. Construction 3, that gives you Legions of Steel.
It's really interesting that we're coming into construction, by the way, for a spell and not an item.
Well, I mean, getting Construction 3 is also really valuable because on the way you get Construction 2, which means you can produce air quills, and some of your Master Smiths do random air.
And then what was the... I don't think I can... Oh, I can't go out of here. And then you said the last one is book it down...
Evocation. It's an evocation spell. I think Iron Blizzard is an evocation spell, yeah. So
it
should
is,
be
it
evocation 6.
Okay, and do you think by turn 30 by turn, I think it's like 25 to 30, would we be on Iron Darts or Iron Blizzard?
By turn 25, he might not have Iron Blizzard yet. Iron Darts is a decent spell. Iron Blizzard is a really, really powerful spell. So, especially if you can get Owl Quill production going, I would try to get Iron Blizzard pretty much as quick as you can. But getting level 6 research, probably not possible until turn 30 or so in a lot of games. I mean, it really does vary. But basically, Iron Blizzard is Blade Wind, but armor piercing.
Wait, because I was going to ask you, like, this has got like 40 effects and it does 14 damage. This one does only 13 damage and it's only got like 3. Why is Iron Darts better?
So, okay. Iron Darts and Blade Wind don't compare directly. So, Blade Wind throws a whole bunch of non-armor piercing slashing damage projectiles, which means that it's going to do a lot of damage against large numbers of unshielded low prot units. Iron Darts throws a small number of armor-piercing projectiles that do extra damage versus magic beams. So Iron Darts, for example, murders elementals, which Blade Wind doesn't as much.
Zan, why is... I mean, I've always heard that MA Ulm is one of the strongest MA nations out there. What makes them so strong?
So I haven't personally used them, but from looking at them, I've seen Iron Blizzard just melt enemy formations. They have amazing forging, and their units themselves are actually really, really good for the age.
So, Kara, what is the upgrade between Iron Darts and Iron Blizzard? What makes Iron Blizzard the thing to get?
So they're kind of different spells in a lot of ways. So the first thing that I like to look at here is the fatigue cost. For Iron Blizzard, you're looking at a 50 fatigue cost, and for Iron Darts, you're looking at 10. They also do different amounts of damage, with Iron Blizzard only 10 armor piercing, and Iron Darts 13. Iron Blizzard is effectively 30 crossbows firing for a turn. And it's important, if you go back one page from here, that Iron Blizzard is an Earth 1 Priest 1 spell, and so Earth 2 and, because they will be casting Summon Earth Power usually, Earth 3 casters are paying substantially less than the 50 fatigue cost to actually cast
What do you mean by that? How does that work, dude?
So the equation, if I remember correctly, is so if you're Earth 3 and it's an Earth 1, you will divide the fatigue cost by 3, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And so it will be somewhere around just over 15 fatigue cost rather than 50 for, again, effectively 30 crossbow, more than 30 because it's a 30 plus number of effects, not 30 crossbows firing at once. This is a 300 gold of crossbows being outputted by a single mage. It's an incredible concentration of power and incredible offensive force. And importantly, it's also magic and does more versus magic beings, which means that a lot of the things that are good against things that have crossbows still die to Iron Blizzard.
GC,
Iron
how
Dart, Iron Darts, on the other hand, is better against things like thugs because it's 13 rather than 10 damage. And it also is much lower fatigue cost, which means that if you just want your mages sitting in the back just throwing iron darts literally forever, it can actually be a better spell to cast sometimes at the beginning of combat.
GC, how do I counter this?
So to counter Iron Blizzard, there's a couple of ways you can do it. One, you can use very fast units that will run through the firing arc, as it were. You can basically, so there are a bunch of techniques, but they all basically boil down to you need to get someone in the middle of the mages, because if you have like an air elemental or a flyer or a fast cavalry unit or whatever who has run into the middle of all these Olmish mages and they cast Iron Blizzard targeting it, they will kill each other.
Get ourselves a little more friendly fire.
Exactly. Beyond that, honestly, one of the things that makes Iron Blizzard so powerful is that it's complicated to counter. It does a lot of damage and it's very straightforward, if that makes sense. Like, there's not a lot of messing around with it. You pretty much just cast the spell and kill some people.
Mandar,
because
oh, sorry, keep going. No, keep going.
Well, I was just about to say it's especially good in the context of Ulm because Ulmish troops have enough armor that you can actually throw Iron Blizzard into melee, and your own troops will suffer less than the other side does usually.
Okay, yeah, that was a good point. I completely forgot about. Mandar. Oh, great, brain just didn't think. Air shield. So we talked earlier about air magic. Does air shield work against Iron Blizzard?
Yes.
Does arrow fend?
Or arrow?
Also, yes.
So arrow fend does work against Iron Blizzard. Okay.
So what does Ulm do if your opponent has air shield?
Cast 5 times as many darts. That works. They can also do things like magma eruption, just spam elementals, pillar of fire, earthquake. There are lots of things that you can do to get around air shield.
Hey Nosy, how are you doing?
I'm not bad.
I'd just like to put in a particular honorable mention for Maws of the Earth.
Oh yeah, Maws of the Earth is good.
Yep.
Where is that at?
Alteration.
Alteration 5,
I believe.
5.
So I want to get into this
15
battle.
area of effect armor piercing. It's very nasty.
And I think that it also has a little bit to do with this battle, because I'm kind of curious if he should have used it against the elves here. Nosy, how are you doing, dude?
Yeah, I'm good.
A
little tired, but otherwise all right.
Dude, I wish you were here yesterday for Perrin. The two of you guys have almost the same exact accent.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise. Can you understand me?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I had a little bit. What is the difference between, like, why would you use Maws of the Earth and why would you use Iron Blizzard as Ulm? What's the difference between the two? When is it better to use one and the other?
In general, for Ulm, I'd say Iron Blizzard's better. But Maws of the Earth is nice for that AoE effect that locks troops down. And it scales up as well, which may or may not be an advantage. But I'd generally say that Iron Blizzard's a much more powerful spell for Ulm.
Okay, so
yeah,
let's... Keep going.
I was about to say, really, Maws of the Earth is going to do less damage than Iron Blizzard, but if your opponent has air shield over everything, or if they're like defense reliant, like if they're elves, for example, then Maws of the Earth can be a good idea because the Earth Meld effect pretty much zeroes out your defense skill.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
Earth,
What?
Maws of the Earth is sort of a an Earth Meld spell first and a damage spell second, whereas Iron Blizzard is just all damage all the time.
Mandar, with the Iron Blizzard, I mean, when with this defense thing, do they dodge the bolts that are coming in?
Nope.
Okay, so
Although
it's
their
actually
shield can block it.
okay.
Well, not block it, but mitigate the damage.
Now, then, so if but these guys put air shield up, right? Because they're air ones.
I haven't seen the fight. Maybe they
No.
do. They can.
That's a good question. You just push play. Okay, I've got blessing and blessing. Okay, so we got blessing so far. We got more
Blade
blessing.
Wind and Legion of Steel out of Ulm.
They don't have priests.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Why do they?
Blade Wind is a particularly bad cast here, particularly against Einherr, because it tends to do just enough to cause a little bit of damage and make them berserk.
What does that matter? What does the berserk do?
So Einherr have berserk plus 5, which means that they get 5 attack skill. Some of the ones farther to the back, yeah.
Yeah,
Which
on
means
two
they get
attack.
5 attack skill and 5 strength once they've taken a little bit of damage.
And
And
5 natural protection. Just put
Yeah,
that
and
out
5
there.
natural protection, which bumps them up to being 23 protection, if I remember correctly, and with multiple attacks at 17 rough plus attack skill and 25 plus damage, they can chop through Ulm infantry better than most things in the Middle Age. It's a particularly bad matchup in general, I would say, for Ulm's infantry, which are generally very strong.
Of note, what's it? Of note, look at this too. His strength has got a +4. So they're adding strength of giants to the that's strength of giants is actually on Vanheim's side.
Yep.
I think
Now-
it's important to note that Ulm just also did not bring enough stuff.
Mhm.
Like,
And
there's-
specifically enough mages.
Real quick, why did he not set his horses to attack rear? Why did he set to attack closest? Nosy, was that on purpose? Was that on accident, or do we not know?
I would say that we don't know, but it looked like they would have been set to attack rear. It may be that they just didn't pass whatever checks they needed to pass to get through to the back line.
Okay, so when you tell something to attack rear, it doesn't automatically attack rear then.
No, not necessarily. There's some kind of checks involved. We know that it shouldn't be a morale check because I think someone posted recently you'd tell that very quickly by skeletons having mass flight would always go to the back, but that isn't the case.
Okay. Are these guys able to even kill the Black Plate infantry? Kara, is there any way possible that these guys can kill the Black Plate infantry, or are we going to be seeing the Einherrs doing most of the work?
Sure. So if you right-click on the van again, you can see that they're swinging at, I believe that's 18 damage with the Light Lance, with ignoring 20% of the armor. That can definitely potentially get through. It's not going to be consistent. They're not going to do a lot of work. I would expect the Einherr to do most of the work outside of the charge, where the Vanheir will probably delete a Ulmish infantry, but I would expect the Einherr to do most of the work here.
So let's watch the rest of this battle. I love watching Ulm infantry because they're so beefy. Okay, real quick. So he's got two different types of units: these Master Smiths and then these Priest Smiths. GC, do you want to give me a rundown on the difference between the two?
So the big difference between there's two main differences. The first is the Priest Smith is capital only, so you get much more limited recruitment of them. The second is, of course, the Priest Smith has a level of Holy, which means that the Priest Smith is going to be your main Iron Darts and Iron Blizzard caster, because those spells require you to have a level of Holy Magic. Priest Smiths don't have that level of Holy Magic. However, they do have a random chance. I think it's a 50% random that the Priest Smith doesn't have. So Master Smiths can end up with more and more varied paths than priest smiths do. But priest smiths have the holy path, and so they're able to cast Iron Blizzard, which master smiths actually can't. Okay, it's a 20%, not a 50%.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah,
guy
you
was
can get these-
that was an Earth random too. The one that we
it
were
may have
looking
been,
at.
or he may have cast Earth Power on himself.
Oh,
Yeah.
When you cast Earth Power, does that show up in your screen?
It does.
Yes.
What about when you are communioned up? Does it show you your communion level, or does it show you your normal level?
That is a different, when you're communioned, a different icon shows up.
Okay.
Is
And
a
hovering
communion
over
master.
that icon shows you how many path boosts you're getting from the communion, but it does not show up in your list next to your list of path icons.
Oh, Novell, how you doing, dude? I just seen you sneak in.
Yes, indeed. Oh, I snuck in when I got the ad. I was driving, so I had to hop on the moment I got into the house.
You're done driving, right?
Yeah. I can't look at the game otherwise.
Priorities: Dom first, driving second. Okay, so Mira and Jan has just had their capital pinged, and I want to look at this real quick. And I want to shoot this to Mandar because we talked about this last time. If you're Pan, do you jump on Mira and Jan's capital, or do you go around and take everything else first?
I'd probably just go right on to their capital. I mean, well, it looks like they have a nice big army there. Might want to dance around a little bit, but it's nice to cut off recruitment to their big mages. But they're not a really capital-limited nation other than that, so just go for whatever's easier land.
GC, what do you usually do? Do you usually, let's say somebody's deciding that they're going to Alamo on their capital, would you go for that capital and try to finish it off, or would you take the surrounding area first?
I would. I mean, obviously, it depends a lot on the exact circumstances, but in a lot of cases, I would try to siege the capital and then move most of my army away. The goal
Why?
there is to, well, okay, so if you have even one unit besieging a capital, a fort, they can't recruit anything. But having your whole army sitting there means that your army isn't doing anything else, isn't taking any more land for you. So the ideal situation is one where you kind of scare your target into staying inside their fort with relatively few units besieging them while you go around and take all their provinces.
Zan, I'm gonna hit on that one a little bit longer. When you're losing a war, do you Alamo up, or do you still keep on fighting to the very end?
What do you mean by Alamo up?
As in, like, get behind the fort walls and hope that, something good happens other than what you do.
Oh no! You have to. I'm not great, but you have to get out there and do something. If I'm in that situation there, I'd be pinging that little forest province with something or another, and as Pangea starts moving his forces, I'm assuming Pangea is going to just swarm in and start taking all the unforged provinces. You have to fight back. You can't just wait. You're wasting your time because you're gonna die.
Kara, what counter rating options does Varignon have?
So at this point in the game, probably not much. Later in the game, they get access to angels, and they can teleport with some of their cap-only dudes, but those are only human-sized mages. They're not terribly good raiders. The best they can do is summon fire elementals and hope that a stray arrow doesn't happen to kill them. Later, they get angels, and angels are great.
Fire elementals are plenty good.
I don't want to spoil too much, but I can tell you that the Marignan player at this point is beelining for angels, and that's their goal. So we might actually be able to see one.
And I mean, if you're on the defensive like this and you're close to a research goal like that, you might be able to justify pulling all your mages back into your forts and just maxing out your research. But yeah, generally speaking, if someone attacking you can force you to keep all your guys inside your forts, you've probably lost.
I want to hit one more point. We're going way over, but this was such an interesting turn. Where is she? The heroine. There we go. Okay, thugs. I am really excited about this because this is the first thug that we've seen. Have we seen? Okay. Nosy. This kit. Tell me, Was this a good thug kit or a bad thug kit? Let me know what you're thinking, dude.
Jesus, that's expensive.
Well
Yeah, it
played.
is.
I mean, if it's dealing with PD, it should be fine. But yeah, I would not invest that much in a thug like that.
Okay, why not?
And no gems either. So I would be more inclined to give a chassis like that a nature gem or two or an air gem or two, and have them cast personal regen and mist form. I would not be investing 50 plus gems into a thug like that, because it's just going to get wrecked by something that counters it, and then all those gems are down the drain.
What else could
Especially on a nation that can recruit thugs like Black Lords. If this was on like Pythium, who can't really recruit good thug chassis, okay, maybe, but this is Ulm. They have options. They can
The
do
other
better.
note is I believe that this is against Vanheim, and it has weakness to lightning damage.
Well, they can
Yeah.
cover that with script.
That's asking for a Cloud Trapeze Air Elemental to the base.
Not even
It-
Cloud Tree's Air Elemental. Cloud Tree's Lightning Bolt will one-shot her.
Well, it has
the
a limited
first
ability to
turn
fix
is-
that with its own paths. It has air and nature, so it can cast Elemental Fortitude. It can use its air magic to defend itself a bit, but it would have been nice to have given that just a little bit of shock res.
Well, it can still get to plus 15 shock res with its script.
Nosy, what
Yeah,
do you
but it isn't.
Sorry.
what do you mean by like giving him gems? Why would you give him gems? And how do you like? Well, let's do the first one.
Well,
Why do you give him
Mist
gems?
form and personal regen are a great combination for dealing with light PD. So Mist form obviously reduces the potential damage down to 1, as long as I don't get hit hard or with magic weapons. And personal regen is good at bringing that HP back up as they do get the chip damage.
How do you get the gems back on him?
Well, that's a matter of you got to stock up a little bit, or you just have to find a way to stock them up with, say, scouts carrying more gems.
Okay, so you're Ulm. You got this heroine. What do you gear her with?
Well, it wouldn't be the Iron Face. I don't mind so much the rest of the gear. That's an expense. If you got it in an event, then sure, you can use it for that sort of purpose, because you haven't really invested into it. But I'd be more inclined to go with one of those 1 gem items they normally put on everything. So whether it's the horned helmet or whatever it may be.
Zan, what do you usually? What's your go-to thug items for raiders?
Frostbrand, Vent Shield.
Can you say it
Kithra
again? Say it again louder.
Frostband, Vine Shield, and Vent Shield is kind of like a luxury item, but the Frostbrand and the Kithra, the little lion pelt.
Real quick, GC, why do you use the lion pelt? It doesn't have that high of protection on it.
No, but it's really cheap, and it gives you both head and body protection in one slot.
Okay, so you're, instead of spending 5 items on a helmet and 5 items on a chest plate, you're spending 5 items on both, right?
Exactly, because when you're gearing thugs, especially if you're a nation that has the option of recruiting a bunch of them, it's really important that they not be super expensive. I mean, as mentioned, if you look at this heroine's kit, those items cost, I think it is 50 gems actually, or more. Because that's,
Well,
I mean, this is Ulm. Ulm
More.
gets discounts, but it's a lot of gems wrapped up in this lady. And so, if someone, for example, if a Vanyarl Cloud Trapeze is on top and casts a Thunderstrike once, and she dies, then you've lost all those gems. If she was carrying, 10 gems worth of items, that would be a much lesser loss.
Can we go to Novell real quick? Novell, you play a lot of Airmore. Do you thug at all?
Yes, I can, but it's a very unique sort of thing. So I thug kind of in the same way that Lemuria thugs. My big priest, the 23 Def Gem priest, it is possible for that unit to thug out just like a Lemuria and console. And with my bless, it's of course a lot stronger on at least that aspect. The problem is that I don't have the magic access that Lemuria really has. So the thug items I can equip to it are quite limited. And it only occurs once I get to about construction 4 or construction 6 that I would ever bother thugging out something to answer something.
But what do you like? Why? What purpose do you have in thugging out that your units can't do? Like, what is the goal of your thugs?
Counter thugging. I only thug to counter thug. If you were to bring something that my lictors couldn't kill, which isn't a lot of things, but there are occasionally some things that lictors have a hard time dealing with. I think this particular bless, along with some other ones, answers most issues. Like, for instance, repel bless, or no, sorry, repel thugs or all thugs can be difficult for lictors because they're normally not mindless. But the ones that I brought in this game have berserk, so I ignore that, for instance. But if you were to bring something that I feel like it would be inefficient to deal with via lictors, I will send in thugs to kill it more efficiently. They will have things.
I'll keep going.
They will have things like the Black Boa Beowulf to feeble mind things. They'll have things like curse and decay weapons. They'll have just anything that I can make purely out of death gems, and they will be like silver bullets. I put them in there just to kill that one thing you're using to more efficiently wipe out my troops.
Wait a minute. You like to make death gem using items as Ermor, as opposed to other kinds of gems for items. I just want to double check that with you.
It depends on what I get access to. Normally, I only have access to very low amounts of elemental gems and then majority death. So it's always in response to kind of a silver bullet that I'm thugging, and in that case, it's more efficient to transfer 15 death gems into a thug than 15 death gems in lictors and have them die. So this is a really niche type of thing here. This is not generic or anything.
You use your demi lich to doing it, right?
Yeah. So like the only time I turn death gems into items are Skull Mentors, Bane Venom Charms, and then this silver bullet thug. That's it. Other than that, you won't see me ever doing it.
Okay, guys. Well, we're going a little bit long on this one, so we're going to wrap up at this point. I want to thank you guys for joining up. Alan, thank you for creeping on us. General Confusion, it was awesome to get you in. I really appreciate you joining us.
Sure, dude. It was fun.
Kara, it's been wonderful hearing you again.
Yeah, always happy to be here.
Mandar, my good-looking friend, I did totally stroke your ego with GC, so I want you to know that I did do that.
Thanks.
No, Nosy, dude, it's awesome to have another Aussie with us.
No problem. Sorry for
Novell, thanks again for joining us.
Always happy to be here.
Shippotle, it was awesome. Sorry I didn't get to get you as much as I'd like to have, but thanks for joining us.
No, of course. I mean, these are some of the best players around, so I'm just happy to be able to pipe in every now and then.
Oh Lord, don't put me in that company.
Zan, I appreciate you joining us.
Yep, I do like being in the company of the best players around.
Okay, guys. Well, I will see you in the next one. Have a good one.